Well. Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. It is I, your boy, Krown, which that definitely doesn't sound or feel right. Sorry, I was on a little bit of a YouTube spree last night, and just listening to the way that a lot of people kind of like announce themselves was very, it's an enlightening experience, you might say. Anyways, plenty to talk about today. I want to follow up on yesterday's short-term time frame analysis. We did get that move to 13,100, followed by the pullback back down to the low side of the short-term range at 12,700. So what does that lead us into for the next weekend to come, and also actually more importantly the next week to come, of which there's plenty to talk about there. So in a more serious tone, yes, there is going to be I guess a lot of things, at least for a Saturday. Looking at the Krown Chain application over here, which can be found at app.krownchain.net, what do we see? We see a lot of the same, but with more of the same actually will kind of help formulate some of our biases, as we do see Bitcoin dominance still hanging around that 61% mark, which does essentially play into the long-term pivot that we've been looking at on the Bitcoin dominance chart. We'll actually reference it today as well, seeing as it is a weekend. Looking at the open interest, we are still hanging around that $2.5 billion marker. We haven't really correlated that with a price action range just yet, and I don't think that it's all that important to right now. What I really want to be seeing is I want to be seeing more open interest being added as price action moves, in this case, to the upside. So with that in mind, still kind of holding the range, which essentially tells us what we already know, consolidation, and then on top of that, we'd be looking for an increase in that, plus a break of the top side of the range, which was about 13,100 region, to denote continuation, at least from that perspective. Fear and greed index came down 1 whole point from yesterday to today as Bitcoin trades sideways. And checking out over here in the data tab, we got some parrots, baby, some parrots in the coal mine. And yes, the futures premium over spot price action continues to increase. Market makers still pricing this move in, which is a good sign. What else do we see on the Bitcoin global funding rate? Well, this would be a good thing to not see, or sorry, a not good thing to see. Or what I'm trying to say is that what we're seeing right here is actually still very much consistent with what we've been seeing on this run. It's actually pretty damn good, because the interest rate for all of these major exchanges is still hanging around that 0.01% region, which is very, 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 very inconsequential. I mean, it's nothing. I mean, that is quite literally par for the course. That's what you can expect until we get back above about 0.1% or below negative 0.1%. I wouldn't really be looking for like a major high in this run. Of course, that doesn't necessarily correlate to like the lower term time frames, but talking about like an actual long term high. For example, the last time that we saw above 0.1% was back around here, and that was actually on your highs in August at 12,500-ish region. Oh, by the way, before we get into the actual price action charts themselves, which we'll go over to right now, but I do remind myself to say, and I spoke about this very briefly on yesterday's Forex video, but it's kind of funny, but so with the Discord, I've been getting a lot of questions about this. Krown, it's a Discord. Can I join the Discord? Is the Discord free? How do I join the Discord? Yes, of course. It's open to anyone and everyone. All you have to do is just one simple thing. Well, first and foremost, you need to find the link in the description below to the Discord. And then once you join the Discord, you're going to be prompted with a private message by a bot that is called Identifier. It's going to show up in the top left of your Discord tab, and it's going to send you a private message with a prompt to verify yourself, essentially, which basically verifies yourself as not a bot and not gonna spam people with a bunch of fucking fake giveaways or whatever the hell the scam bots are doing nowadays. So yes, and it's really funny for me because I actually, because I have access to the bot and what it sees, I literally see everyone joining on in, and then the bot sends them the message to verify themselves, and then they don't respawn. And if you don't respawn in 10 minutes, oh, I forgot to tell you this part. Yeah, if you don't respawn in 10 minutes, it will kick you. So then people think that they're banned after that because they got kicked. No, you're not banned. Nothing's wrong at all. All you need to do is just rejoin the server, and you'll be prompted with the same thing again. I can assure you, you're not banned. It's all good. All you got to do is just pass that verification, and it keeps our community nice and clean, so we don't have all these annoying bots, which if you were around a couple months ago, we had this really awful bot attack. We've actually had multiple of them in this past year of 2020, but a really fucking awful one happened a few months ago, where basically it was just flooding everyone with private messages at all hours a day. It was kind of it was actually really, really crazy. Anyways, let's talk about price action now. So Bitcoin, let's fuck this chart. Let's go over here to CMEs. Okay, so here's the thing, and here's what I really want to be focusing on, and here is the long-term view on this. We did close both the daily and the weekly yesterday for CMEs. We closed on new highs for CMEs, more importantly. importantly, above our July highs in 2019. This means a lot to me because this actually really is the first time of us confirming a continuation of trend here after a nice reversal coming out of these lows from the coronavirus dump. So this is a very long-term piece of price action, and I do put a shit ton of weight on it. So while I do think that, over some point in time, maybe it even comes next week, we probably do trade back down towards the mid, maybe even low $12,000 region. This is really set in the bias and tone for the long term of this asset. By the way, we are just freshly crossing the weekly Stokes back onto the upside, going back in the bullish control zone alongside this, and weekly RSI just getting its first stint into the bullish control zone after getting that quick rejection right around here. Whenever you see a consolidation alongside either the bullish or bearish control zone, and then it breaks back into it after a quick rejection, you're usually going to be spending some time in there as well. So this is what I really be keeping a focus on because it does keep the long-term bias still to the upside. And if I did have to say it right now, do I think that Bitcoin is going to, continue onwards and upwards from here, probably next week to, the upper $13,000 region? Likely yes. But because it is a weekend, all sorts of weird things happen. And, is Bitcoin going to break the range over the weekend? Sometimes we do see it go in the same direction of the trend, but we've never seen a reversal on the weekend contra to the week's direction since CME's debuted in 2017. And people always try to prove me wrong in this one, but I can assure you that I've gone through this very meticulously, and you're more than welcome to try to prove me wrong in that one. And if you do, definitely message me about it, but because it would be news to me thus far. We have quite literally not seen one since December 2017 when CME's debuted. So basically what I'm saying is that if Bitcoin is going to, give another try to the upside here over the weekend, I would favor that over the downside. But realistically, what do I think is more likely to happen? Probably range on the weekend and do something similar to what we saw yesterday, which actually I should follow up now on the short-term timeframes over here. So yesterday we did say Bitcoin probably heading back up and tagging around about 13,100 region, of which would look for a pullback back down to the below side of the range at about 12,700 region. Believe that we got that. I don't say these things to sound arrogant, and I really dislike that because realistically at the end of the day with technical analysis, with trading, it's all a game of statistics, it's all a game of probabilities. So can you really say anything 100%? No. But what's likely to happen? Well, we just had a nice little run over here. What's probably going to happen? A little bit of sideways action, at least in the short-term timeframes. And we were having a really good discussion about this yesterday in the Discord because right now the short-term timeframes actually, they're so fucking wide. There's so much opportunity within them. I mean, this is a 4-hour dildo that goes, even just in the hourly dildos, we can see a $400 range top to bottom, maybe even a little bit more than that. Just within the course of 2-3 hours. That's insane opportunity right now. And that is because we kind of are in this, more aggressive area where Bitcoin's really never been spending too much time in as far as the long term goes. Go over here and put on the volume profile. So I think this best represents this fact right here. You can see that the volume profile just completely falls off the cliff anywhere above $12,000, of which we're living a comfortable $1,000 above that right now. And so realistically, historically speaking, this is just a whole new era over here, of which I would be looking for Bitcoin to play out these very aggressive, very nasty, very violent moves, both to the upside and the downside. Yes, even in a bull trend, in fact, especially in a bull trend, you're going to see some very, 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 very violent and nasty washouts to the downside. That's how you generate your liquidity in an actual up market for the long-term macro, which I do believe that we're entering into right now. And so what does that mean? That means that if you need to generate liquidity, it's not going to come from liquidating shorts. Most people, most bigger accounts, most bigger positions are not going to be short. What they're going to be doing is they're going to be liquidating the long positions and scooping up those stops or liquidation prices, whichever one you prefer to use, and then running it back. You see it all the time. Back on over in the run from 2015 to 2018 right here, you see these very nasty dumps. More around the about 30% marker down to the 21 exponential moving average. Some of them are this one right here about 26%. This one right here about 30%. But you see plenty of them over the course of over the course of what was a phenomenal rally from about $250 to $20,000, but still plenty of 30% moves to the downside. And you can see that these happen within the course of a few weeks, sometimes even just within the course of a couple weeks. This one almost 37.5% right there, and they do get more aggressive over time. So essentially, that is what I would say right now, in the sense that long term, I'd be looking for some of the greater lows to be put in around that region. And for reference, right now we do see that the 21 is starting to crawl somewhere around about 11,000 bucks. So the more and more that Bitcoin just kind of hangs above here, naturally speaking, the more and more it's going to be dragged to the upside. But now I'm getting way ahead of myself because I'm supposed to be talking about the short-term timeframes, and I'm talking about all this long-term bullshit. So what do we think about the long-term? I'd be looking for another move back onto the tops of the range. Be looking for another move towards 13,100 again today. Do we actually break it or not to the upside? Well, there was a really good, first off, let me take a sip of this. Hey, by the way, I'm having some coffee right now. If you're wondering why the pace of speech is a little bit more today, it's not because, well, actually I'll explain it after I take a sip. Mostly because I'm going to be doing an interview and actually right after this video. So I'll be on Omar's channel, Crypto News. He's a great guy. I really like him. He just seems like a fucking normal guy which is very nice and very refreshing in a space like this. And there's a few guys like that I really like. Elliot, as I always say, really like Crypto Zombie. I fucking love that guy. He's great. He's so fucking funny, especially when you talk to him like off screen. He's great. And then a few others as well who I don't want anyone to think like I'm missing their name. It's just we need to talk about price action right now. Anyways, so yeah, short term probably popping back up and testing around 13,100. I do feel strongly about that. What do I not feel strongly about? Does it actually break it or not? And if it does break any sort of a 4-hour total closure above 13,100, or if we're using a 3-hour, we could use 13,100 and about 30. If we're using a 2-hour, we could use 13,150. If we use an hourly, I would use actually this high right here, about 13,220 as well. Then yes, I would be looking for a breakout to the upside to our next proverbial target based off of a fib extension right here towards a 1.414 at about 13,650. I do like how this naturally lines up with some greater historical levels like our highs in 2019, and then also more importantly in 2018 right here. This was actually a big breakdown from this base, producing a move from about 13,600, 13,700 all the way down to about 9,400 over the next 2 days, and then realistically Bitcoin never really got anywhere close to that over the next 3 years. So to me, that's kind of a big deal. Does it happen over a weekend? I would hope that it doesn't happen over a weekend, mostly because I just think it'd be easier to trade with CMEs open. But if that does happen over the weekend, yeah, I guess I would be looking for that move to 13,600. But for now, I'd probably be holding on to the same thing that I said yesterday. Probably pops back up to 13,100 region and then plays out another test to the downside, of which what would I be looking for? A test to the downside? Well, let's find one of our higher term timeframes. 10-hour would say that we've already gotten that. 12-hour would say pretty much the same area, about 12,007 to 12,008 region. I'm a bit hesitant to be bullish on a weekend or look for continuation drives on a weekend. Like I said, it can happen in the same direction of the trend. So in this case, that would be to the upside. But I'd be very skeptical of any sort of a breakdown below even yesterday's low 12,700 region. If it did, I'd be looking for a quick move down to the low $12,000 region, about 12.2, and that would be a very obvious, at the very least, bounce buy for myself. And of course, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, and it's a further thing from it. And so there you go. Anyways, so let's go through the lower term timeframes here. I really don't trust all that much over the weekends. This statement gets misheard a lot of the time. It's mostly because I just don't feel like my edge as a technical analyst, as a trader using technical analysis is as strong as it would be during the week. Doesn't mean that I can't work out. It's just that it's a little bit lower. And when it's a little bit lower, I think to myself, as I imagine you would think to yourself as well, well, if my percentage, if the probability of these signals working out is less on these times compared to these times, would it be wise to play? Well, of course, that's a personal decision. I would say no, because that's just unnecessary risk. I mean, I just don't understand what people get out of that. I guess some people just want to be in a trade all the time, and fair enough. But yeah. Anyways, looking at 4-hour Stokes, kind of nosediving right now, but not really giving us too much on that. I imagine that they will cross back on up to the upside with any sort of a close above 13,100. Oh, by the way, I need to also I also need to talk about this as well. So yesterday I did something that I don't really think that I've done before, where I basically went through all the lower term timeframes, like the 4, 3, 2, and 1, and then it was kind of what I just did earlier as well, where I spoke about, okay, well, if a 4-hour close above this level, then that's breakout. The 3-hour close above this level, then it's breakout. And one of the guys who I really trust to kind of give me good feedback on sort of what makes most sense about my communication style or not. He was like, hey man, that was like a big missing piece of what of what you've been saying for the last 2 years, and just you going over that right there like really helped me kind of solidify in that when you chart on a time frame, you make the decision on that time frame. Yeah, I mean that's essentially what it means. So I have a couple of people like that, and I greatly appreciate them. So massive thank you for that, my friend. You know who you are, and I hope that maybe clears up some things that perhaps I just blow through, and maybe other people don't. Maybe doesn't come off or make as much sense. I need to take another sippy of this not so much water. Is good. It's real good. All right, what else do we see on momentum oscillators? 4-hour RSI playing out some hidden bullish divergence here as well. Credit to caretaker. So yeah, I do think that we get another about $100 moves up to the top side of the range. Does not imply that we break it out to the upside though. And as we spoke about with historical volatility percentile, we got up to the 90 read on the 4-hour. That denoted basically the high of this run thus far. Now contracting rather aggressively, which is good. But I wouldn't really be looking for this one to actually give a legitimate try to the upside or the downside and break this short-term range above 13,100 or below 12,700 until we see this come down, probably to the teens and maybe a little bit below that and build up another case again. So this one acting and getting things right. So I'd keep a keen eye on the 4-hour because it does seem to really represent this price action rather well. Looking at the 3-hour, we expect to see something, more or less the same. And yeah, we do. We see the 3-hour Stokes looking like they want to give across the upside. It's not all that convincing right now, and like I said, I don't really trust it all that much on weekends anyways. 3-hour hidden bullish divergence playing out too. I look at that to play out maybe a little bit higher than what we see on the 4-hour, somewhere back around about 13,150ish region. We see the same thing on a historical volatility percentile here. I know that's redundant a bit, but it's good to have confluence between all these time frames because it means that the signals are more and more likely to play out. Now, what do we see on the 2-hour? We actually do see it crossing successfully to the upside. I do see a competing trend line right here, but that one's not going to work out. It's way too aggressive. I highly doubt it. 2-hour RSI is looking a lot better actually as well, getting the hidden bullish divergence and now back above the exponential, likely into the bullish control zone here too. So yes, I do feel quite compelled about that next move to like 13,001 to 13,150ish region. Do we actually break that level by closing a significant dildo above it? I don't have an opinion on that. I really don't, and I'm not interested in trading that today either. What I'm interested in doing is I'm interested in mostly watching and being a voyeur and maybe playing on the peripheries. Like let's say we get to maybe 13,600, then yeah, I'll probably try a scalp right there, but not in this range right here. That's just one of my rules. Doesn't mean that you have to use it. Doesn't mean that you have to not use it. It's just what I do. Anyways, 2-hour historical volatility percentile, yeah, contracting aggressively here as well. Good to see the confluence between all these things. So again, kind of marking up for some short-term upside, and I'm sure a lot of people before we get to the next point, hourly's looking fine here as well. Hourly Stokes up, hourly RSI good. Fair enough, but I'm sure a lot of people are looking at this as an ascending triangle, which, to be fair, and let's bring up a fresh chart right here. To be fair, technically it is one, I suppose. And let's find the time frame where it works best on. Yeah, I guess the hourly it works best on. We can make a measure move on this one just to kind of like see what's going on here. And it's pretty damn obvious, I think. Something like this is what you'd be looking at if you are looking at this as an ascending triangle. It's not the most aggressive upward slope on the bottom, by the way. But, just to kind of get a measure move on this one, I'm curious what it would show. I'm doing like a very bad drawing of this once again. I just kind of blowing through it. But it would be synonymous with the fib extension to the 1.414 actually all the way up at about 13,700ish region. So yeah, if we do break above that, if we do break above this level right here, yes, I do think that Bitcoin's going to go find itself somewhere around 13,006 to 13,007. Probably play out a pullback from there. And this is a bullish reaccumulation formation, especially with the way that CME is closed on Friday. I do like it. I do think that we're going to get continuation to the upside probably next week and test around that region. But I also do think, and this is where the fun action comes, I think that we will both see 13,600 and also like low 12,000 again, like 12,100ish region, maybe even within the same week. I do think that 12.1 will be tested once again, is what I'm trying to say. say. But overall, I'm still bullish on the whole. Weekly for spot price action looks more or less the same as what we see on CMEs, so I don't really have anything to add there as well. But let's go over here to the medium-term timeframes, of which the 12-hour is showing a little bit of momentum turning to the downside, kind of hitting the same areas that we found highs in. Let's see, do I have a nice trend line coming in here? It looks, apparently I do. Yeah, coming in from our last highs of August, September, and early October, and then once again, kind of where we are right now. Now, keep in mind, remember this competing trend line on the bottom side right here. This was what kind of set our bias into the upside, or at least my bias into the upside, coming out of that base that we built in early October. Well, I would actually look for this trend line to once again kind of play off of if and when Bitcoin does come back down. So if this reset actually did happen over the weekend, that would be perfect for another try to the upside coming into next week, like early next week perhaps as well. Need another sippy of this water, or dirty water, you might say. And there you go. But for right now, I'm a little bit hesitant to be looking for further continuation like today is what I'm trying to say. But I do think that coming into next week, very likely we do get another try to the upside. 12-hour historic volatility percentile breaking the moving average on this. We're in a resolution phase right here and expanding and in the process of expanding. So the 12-hour the 12-hour obviously is going to take precedence over the lower term timeframes. The lower term timeframes only speaking towards the short term consolidation and contraction phase. The 12-hour speaking more towards the long term actually. So I do like that. It says that we're still in the process of trending, and I would agree with that. What about daily? Same thing. Daily Stokes getting way up there as well, a little bit frothy, but I'm sure that we have the same trend line here. In fact, we do, and we're kind of meeting it right now. So do I think that we come to a local high relatively soon? Yeah, I do. and then I'll be looking for a play coming into next week, most likely. Looking at anything else that's obvious here, getting a little bit of a warning signal on daily Joule, but this is not a sell signal as it is just yet. It's probably going to set up though. And just, as an aside, if you do have access to the Joule, anytime that we do get above the critical zone, it is kind of like cautionary times. You can back test this one yourself. Going all the way back to 2016, it's not going to time it perfectly, but essentially a warning signal saying, hey, right now is the time to be looking for a little bit of a cool off phase, perhaps. Does that come alongside another try to the upside first? I actually do think so. Probably 13,600, but not today, not tomorrow, probably next week. What else do we have? 2-day. I think the 2-day close. 2 days strong as fuck. I don't have any problems with this at all. This makes me bullish in the next week as well. Can come all the way back down to low $12,000, and I look at that as a major opportunity. What about 3-day here too? Same thing, even better. We actually just closed a 3-day. I would be looking for a move. Like I said, I'm looking for both a move down to 12,200 and up to 13,600, maybe even on the same weekly dildo. But which one happens first? I do think that the upside probably gets tagged first, but I don't feel that's an opinion, not technical analysis. We already kind of looked at the weekly, but 3-day for right here, playing out all this hidden bullish divergence back into the bullish control zone. This is incredibly constructive over a long period of time. I mean, this is really, really good right here. Short term, yes. Do we play out a little bit of downside? I do think so. So fair enough. Let's go over to our secondary chart, see if there's anything obvious as it is right now as well. Yeah, this is also really, really important right here. So remember the Trollinger Bands. The Trollinger Bands are your friends. They can't, or at least they can be your friends. And I'm really unwilling to call like a major high in this run until we do close at the very least a daily dildo below the topside Trollinger Band. Yesterday we just barely closed above. Right now we're living a little bit below. It's currently coming in where? 13,100. So if 13,100 also breaks on a daily, do I look for 13.7? We'll call it. Yes, I do. And fair enough, but for right now, this actually really could denote a little bit of short-term sideways and down. What about the 2-day? Same sort of thing here. Already tested the top side of the Trollinger Band. So far, so good. I like that. What about the 3-day, which we just closed? Top side of the Trollinger Band is currently 12,007, so still getting the bottom side of this range. Do I think that we're going to test that region once again before this is all said and done, at least within the next 3 days? Yes, I do. But don't lose sight of the fucking forest in the woods, or does a bear shit in the forest and there's woods there? Whatever the fuck. I don't know, man, but does a MACD cross mean nothing if you don't see it alongside of a break of a major resistance? Actually, Yes. And that's what a lot of people get wrong about the MACD. But yeah, seeing the cross, the upside right here as we do break this horizontal, very fucking good action. Also trending above the top side Krown band and matching that up with the DMI, which by the way, the DMI plus is certainly dominant right now. Are we actually creating divergence here? Maybe just barely. But the ADX still strengthening, probably looking for this run to give an overall try to the upside more, with potentially another short-term move back down to about 12.7 base, we'll call it, but I don't think that we break 12.7. I do think that we probably continue to 13,006 or 13,007 before playing that greater pullback down to the lower 12,000s. Again, that's more of an opinion than anything else, but hopefully that's helpful in some way. Looking at weekly, weekly's gonna have a chance to close above the top side Krown band for the first time since. Wow. Actually, no. Did it do it here for a second? No, just barely. Over here in 2019. Any sort of a closure tomorrow at Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time above 12,838. Yes, it will inevitably happen. And while I'm on my Forex list right here, let's go to my crypto list. And CMEs, I believe, have already done that. Yeah, closed 12,970. Topside Krown band was 12,829. Yep, already happened. And there you go. And by the way, this measure move off of this formation, fuck, I gave it away, I guess. But, well, we're in the TA nerd session now. Yeah, it's 25 minutes into this pitch. Yeah, still pointed towards where? Actually, very low $14,000 region. So, do we get a blow off within this region anywhere between about 13.7 and like 14,000? Probably, yeah. But I wouldn't even say that the run's done after that. Long term, I still very much like this, but I'll save that maybe for tomorrow. This video is already getting a bit too long and don't want to keep Omar waiting. Sorry, man. What else do we got? Do we want to check out traditional marks really quick? Yeah, let's go check out traditional marks really quick. Maybe do some butyrol action and fuck. Where is it? There you are. Found you. How do we close on Friday? Sideways as fuck. Wow. Holding between the 21 and 10 simple. What do you fucking know? I don't really have an opinion on this one. Probably does bounce back up coming into next week, but see what SPY looks like. I think it's a little more obvious right now too. SPY still playing in the same range as well, 21 and 10 simple. Do I have any calls to make out of this one? Probably does push its way to the upside as well. I feel like we've had the chance to already break down, and too many chances to break down without any follow through is usually bad for the soul. What about Tesla? Did Tesla reach our 405 region? Nice. Hey, there we go. Finally got one right, baby. Fuck you. Just kidding. What about Apple? Same thing. 113. Although I do think that you could probably extend this. But I'll hold my breath on that one. Microsoft back up. I'd be looking for it to pop back up towards 220-ish region. I do believe yesterday I was looking for a move to about 218, of which we almost got. All right, fair enough. What else do we got? Mr. Butyrol, 413 over here. Very similar to Bitcoin. Any sort of a 4-hour delta closure or just a wick above 420, which is a very easy and great number to remember. And I'd be looking for extension towards 440, actually. Looking at a weekly, though, I'd keep keen eyes on this. Any sort of a weekly closure tomorrow is going to hold a lot more weight above 430, and I'd be looking for another run to 500 and probably beyond. And the weekly looks like it's really set up here, so I'll just kind of leave it like that. And I'd put a sincere focus on that. Lower term time frames, kind of the same thing, but I just think because we are so close to the weekly closure, it's just better to be looking at something like that right now. What about Link? Where's my Linkies? Do we get that nice move to the upside or not? Yes! Fuck yeah! My Link's making me rich right now that I don't own even at all. But I live vicariously through all the Link Marines because apparently there's like a shit ton of them in this community. And you know what? I'm happy for you, man. I've been singing the praises of this piece of highly incredible technology since like 2018. I've never owned a single one though, but fair enough. Yeah, we did hit the 12 and 3/4 target. What do I think now? Probably, based off the weekly, I'm gonna say it, man. All right, Link Marines, you ready? You ready? We're in the TA nerd session right now. Any sort of a closure, basically here or higher tomorrow on the weekly. I'm looking for another move back up towards $16.5. There you go. All right. Okay. Everyone happy? Everyone's green. Everyone's got some girthy green dildos to look forward to, perhaps. And let's go back to Bitcoin over here. To kind of wrap up my thoughts, short term probably does give another try up to 13,100. Do we break it over the weekend? I would be a little bit skeptical of that. Could it happen? Yes. 4-hour closure above 13.1. Good. 3-hour above like 13,100. 30, I think it was, good. 2 hour above 13,150, good. And hourly like 13,220, I think it was, also good for continuation up to about 13.6, 13.7, of which I'd be looking for a major pullback there. By the same token, because it is a weekend, I do think that it's more likely that we probably test up toward this region and then play out another move back onto the downside of the short-term range. Any sort of a break below 12.7 on especially a 4 hour. What about a 2 hour? Yeah, 2 hour probably does it as well. And I'd look for a greater pullback down to the lower $12,000 region. But yeah, I think that's a good place for me to leave off right now. You know what? I'd like to wish you the best of the best and the happiest. Take care. And until next time.